Hello, friends and fellow VEDSies, and welcome back to VEDS. I am finally going to sit down and have a response video. Actually, I'm going to split this up into two. So today I'm going to be responding to Abby, Alicia, and Graham's videos. And in the next video, I'm going to be responding to James, Jeffrey's, and Tessa's. Just because, since I haven't done a proper response video all month, I have so much to talk about, and I don't want to short shrift any of you. So I am going to split this up, and the videos will be as long as they need to be. I'm also behind on VEDS, as y'all can easily surmise. So I'm going to be putting out a lot more videos this week to catch up. I don't know what those look like. My original plans are kind of being scrapped because of that, but that is fine because we are going to do. And we're going to begin doing by talking about Abby's videos. The first video I kind of want to tackle right now, Abby, is your video on, which is kind of in two parts, the videos you wanted to make as a kid and then the videos that you ended up finding that you had made as a kid, and just kind of the experience with both of those. And talking about those because I really enjoyed hearing about those because I also, as a kid, made a lot of YouTube videos with my flip camera at first, and then I moved to my iPad, and then eventually I got a real camera. But those flip camera days were, I was so excited when I got that for Christmas because I just loved making videos and documenting stuff, and it was a really exciting experience being able to do that. I don't think I should have been able to put those up on YouTube. And I watched your videos that you made as a kid, and I was like, these are actually kind of, like, they're charming. They're not amazing, but they do have a certain amount of charm to them, and you can see kind of where the ideas could come from and why those were ideas that you wanted to make as a kid, and I thought those were actually fun videos. My videos, not so much. A lot of them are just embarrassing because I was young and I didn't know how to talk to a camera, or they're just low quality. But then a lot of them was also, I was kind of in a phase for a while when I thought anything funny was something that would make an adult squirm kind of deal. And so I definitely have some videos that I don't think hold up from that extent. Those are taken down, mostly just because, like, I don't think I should have been able to put up videos on the internet to begin with as a kid. So even the ones that are fine, I don't really want to have up. And then just as that kind of continued, I just kept privating more and more videos, even if from a content perspective, I think they'd be fine to keep up. Just because, I don't know, I don't like having up my old videos. And it's this thing where it's like, I kind of like having a rolling blackout on my channel. X amount of years pass, I'm just going to automatically unlist those videos and hide them. But then also part of me is like, it's important to show where I've come from, and like now I think I make fairly okay videos, and it's important to show here's where those ideas began and here's where I've improved. And I'm just not sure if I should keep up my early VEDS videos. The first year I did VEDS was in 2012. Those are gone and will never see the light of day again. But like my 2015, 2016 VEDS, even like my 2018 VEDS, which was Mythology Month, I don't know. I kind of get the itching to put those down, to take those down, to kind of just have the rolling blackout keep going. And I wonder when they'll be, if in 5 years I'll want to take this video down. Who knows? But that's something I'm struggling with now, is kind of deciding when I should take down my old videos. If I should I curate my channel, or should I just kind of keep it all up as documentation? Of course, for my personal benefit, I don't delete any of these videos, so I can always go back and watch them. But it's just the public consumption of them, should I keep them up? I don't know. It's an interesting thought. You also had your over the past year video, which I liked a lot. Reminds me of, I did these videos called Scenes from a Forgotten Camera Roll, I think. I did those for 2 or 3 years. Similar deal where you kind of have these out of context clips, usually with no one in frame, and you just get to see so much interesting moments of your life. You obviously get to relive those, but then also we get to see just like a little peek into it. And sometimes those out of context moments can tell us more about a person. I think especially what I liked in this one was you kept going back to, I couldn't tell what kind of field it was, but it was some kind of athletic field, and the sprinklers were going. I don't know if that was the same clip that you reused or you just took that multiple nights. And it's kind of like this idea of, it's like, oh, this is a space that they pass a lot of the time, and it's one of those kind of innocuous spaces, but something about that, like they pass that space and that's kind of part of them and part of their world. And I thought that was really interesting. I liked that a lot. And you made your ghost video. I will talk a lot more about your ghost video when I respond to Tessa's response to your ghost video. But I'm glad you kind of brought up that topic of conversation. I like the idea of ghosts a lot. I've never encountered a ghost. I've never had that kind of experience. I'm very jealous of the people who have, because one of the kind of realizations in my life that I've made over the past couple of years is that I can't believe in ghosts based off of any experience that I've had, but I think the world would be a more interesting, more rich place. I don't want to say better place, but like a more interesting place if ghosts were real. And so I choose to believe in them just from that perspective. And when people tell me their stories about their encounters with the supernatural, I take it at face value, because I want to believe that there is like this kind of a deeper knowledge to the world than what we have now. I think that ties into, I am religious in my own way, but that has changed a lot over the years, and part of that has been kind of getting rid of this definitiveness around my faith and around spirituality, and embracing other people's experiences as valid and as valuable. I think that kind of plays a part in it and why I like ghosts. But the real reason I wanted to talk about that video was because you continued the zine challenge that Alicia gave to us last year, and that was really cool. That's something I've been thinking about doing this year as well, and I think that the zine you made in that video was even better than the zine you made last year, and it was just really cool to see that kind of continuing thread from last year. I'm really glad that you decided to share that, because you could have done anything if you wanted to talk about ghosts. You could have done any type of video, but you found a really cool, interesting way of presenting that to us, and I thought that was really cool. A similar video that we will get to as I kind of go on in these responses is the gift video, the gifts you give yourself. I'm going to be talking about that as I kind of pick up on some of the threads and some of the stuff that James has said this VEDS, and I'll be showing off some stuff there. Also in line with one of his challenges. It was very convenient. I was already trying to find an excuse to show off one of my collections of things, and then James gave his videos. But enough about that. James will get his own time in his video. So I'll be picking up on that gift, because I do think that that is something, it's important, I think, to kind of splurge sometimes and give yourself these little gifts and fill your space with things you like. And that's not something I always feel the need to, because I kind of hoard money a little bit. There's a lot of moral value that I was raised with in the idea of saving money. And so I feel like I'm kind of crossing some type of taboo or something when I buy something just for the fun of it. But that's important. And like you said, experiences in that video. I've tried to go to a lot of concerts after COVID, because I couldn't go to any during COVID, obviously, and that's something I really wanted to prioritize doing. Because of that, I've seen a lot of my favorite artists. I saw Billy Joel this year. I saw the Mountain Goats this year. I saw Kendrick Lamar last year. It's great. I'm seeing my favorite artists similar. I've seen them twice last year. Now I'm going to see them again when they come in October to Nashville. Talk more about that later, even though I just talked a lot about it just now. And finally, I want to talk about I Long to Be Part of the Wind. I mean, obviously that was a response to the Element Challenge, and I've loved all the responses to the Element Challenge that has come out so far. I especially really liked what you did with yours, creating a narrative to it. It was beautifully composed, how you faded in the shot from you on the bed into that, into the shots of the wind reacting to the trees, into the grass and all this stuff. The motion of elements is a really transcendent thing, and it's something that is used in a lot of films. You captured the motion and also this almost like sense of a movement beyond physical or kinetic movement, but more like this almost like spiritual movement, this transcendent elevated type movement that comes from the natural world, and like this moment of capturing that for you and just kind of shrinking that down. You conveyed all that super well through your editing and through the length of the clips you showed, and the patterns that kind of arose from that, and then of course the very simple but very effective narrative that you put into that video. I think that was an excellent. It's one of my favorite things you've put out. I sense that this has kind of been a more difficult VEDS for you this year. I sense that because you've said that. This is not me picking up on anything that you haven't spoken about. And I've been in a very similar boat. But beyond the struggles with producing a video and leading up to that, and the wonderful ideas I'm sure you've had to cut or leave on the table or in your mind alter to the point where they are not recognizable, you've come up with some amazing videos. And while you may not be happy with them, don't worry. You can't always trust yourself as a critic. You've created some amazing stuff. I hope you do create stuff that you are super happy with. I hope you are super happy with I Long to Be with the Wind, because it's an amazing video. But even if you don't, take this from someone who I feel like has a very similar process with making their videos. Your videos have been good this year, and I'm glad that you have put them out. And I'm sorry that the process of making them hasn't always been as rewarding as it should be. But anyway, that's what I have to say about your videos, Abby. I've greatly enjoyed them. Now, let's switch locations and switch up which VEDS we're talking about. And now on to Alicia's videos. I need my notes. Before I can do anything, I need my notes. I've also made myself some tea so that my throat does not get dry. So this portion of the video is brought to you by the Nashville Spice and Tea Exchange and their Fireside Spice Oolong Tea. If you're in town, it's pretty tasty tea to pick up. Anyway, on to Alicia, your videos. I feel like we have both had some format changes this year to our videos and just kind of changing our process around. So it's almost like we are on similar tracks, and we're kind of like, if VEDS is a marathon, we're running beside each other, and we can look over and kind of wave. It's like, hey, I recognize your process, and I recognize what you're doing. You've gotten far ahead of me in the marathon, but I'm catching up, I promise. And that's just been so cool. I always love your videos. You have such an aesthetic quality to them that mirrors your intentionality and your introspection, and I admire your videos a lot. I've enjoyed the pre-recorded stuff and how you've incorporated that. You've had this kind of theme running throughout. You've had a couple of themes running throughout your videos, and one of them is these kind of conversations you're having with yourself. You have this kind of in your rain video, in your theory of life video, and most explicitly probably in your someone has to watch the cafe videos. And it's almost like you're kind of creating this Socratic dialogue, and you're coming up with just these really interesting ways to tackle these ideas and these themes and these conversations, and I've really enjoyed that format and what you've done with it. It's a thread I hope kind of continues in your videos, but even if it doesn't, it's fine, because I know that you're gonna continue making good videos and interesting videos and introspective videos either way. Another one of your themes has been talking about embracing fall, waiting for autumn to come. I've appreciated that because this year I've really tried to embrace summer. I'm not a summer boy. I was born in the winter and my bones ache for the cold. But the summer, for most of my life, it was defined by being off of school. And that was exciting. But like once you graduate college and you enter the workforce, it's like, well, whatever. Like, who cares about summer? Maybe you get to go on vacation, although I prefer vacationing in the fall. So like, maybe you don't, and it's gonna be hot and it's gonna be sweaty, and yeah, you get to go to pool parties and do some of those stuff, and there are events that only happen in the summer. But like, it was one of these things where I just kind of shrug it off. But this year I was like, no, I'm gonna embrace it. It's like, if I get hot, if I get sweaty, that's just my body experiencing it in a different way, and I tried to be very intentional about that. And I would say that was successful. I have really enjoyed this summer more than a lot of other summers over the past couple years. But your videos have kind of reminded me I am built for the cold. And earlier this week, I woke up and my house was cold. And I gotta drink my hot tea, not as just like a beverage I enjoy, but like as a necessity to stay warm. And I gotta put on flannel, and it was great. And my year really begins with September, because I get to hang out with all my September friends, or my VEDS friends. And then in October, it's full spooky season, and I embrace the ghouls and the skeletons and the ghosties. And I watch the horror movies, and I go to pumpkin patches. And then in November, if I choose to do NaNoWriMo, then I have another project. And if not, I can catch my breath from the last 2 months and transition into December, when I have my birthday, and then I have Christmas, and then I have New Year's and all this stuff. And then January, you have the momentum of like, I'm moving into the new year. And then February, it just kind of all falls apart. But this all begins with fall, right? It all begins with September. And so my year is truly beginning. And you reminded me of that. And I cannot wait for the leaves to change. I've kind of gone out of order and brushed over your cafe video, which I wanted to get back to because I really liked that. I joke a lot with Destiny about how we're going to become travel influencers. I say travel influencers. Sometimes I just say influencers, and she's always like, Caleb, how are we going to influence people? And I go, that's a good point. Because I like the idea of being able to travel the world. There's that tempting thing to like commodify it. But then in your video, you talked about how it's like, yes, you enjoy traveling here and there, but you gotta stay home. And like the joy of traveling really comes because there are those people who stay home. And there are those people who watch the cafe and the park rangers and all that stuff. And it really did make me appreciate that perspective. I think there is a value in slowing down and enjoying where you're at and building up that community and that life. And you talked about that in a really compelling way. And I really enjoyed that perspective, even though I still feel the itch to adventure and I want to travel the world. I think your perspective is going to give me a lot more contentment with when I just wake up and there's nowhere to go. And I'm just in Nashville and I have my friends and I have my family and all that stuff. And I'm tending the cafe that is my regular life. Kind of similarly, I enjoyed your video about work, where I got a new job last October. So I missed out on VEDS to talk about there, but I got a new job and it's been different for me. I'm going to talk about this a little bit more in a minute, but it is a committing to a change in how I see my career. Because of that, I've had a lot of, I've been thinking about that and questioning it. And so it's helpful to hear a different perspective on that, kind of an outside perspective, and how you're tackling that. I'll talk about that a little bit more when I'm talking about one of Graham's videos, but just to kind of sprinkle some seeds, you've given me some stuff to think about with your work video. And I'm also just glad for you that you're able to find something that you enjoy doing and that you get fulfillment in. And that seems like a very healthy and beneficial step for you. And finally, I want to talk about your meditation video. Meditation is something I struggle with. It's something that is extremely valuable to me. I fully acknowledge that my anxiety is lessened when I consistently meditate and use that as a discipline, but man, it is a discipline I just cannot crack. I go through spells of meditating a lot and fall out of them just as easily. But I appreciated your video and kind of you sharing your experience with that and your method of doing that. I've been thinking a lot about, as I've been trying to refine my meditation practice. Let me get the name of it. I'm going to butcher this name. Tonglen, which is this kind of meditation that focuses on, and I'm by far not an expert, it's just something I'm trying to learn more about. You take in and then you breathe out. So you're taking in stress, anxiety, depression, and then it's almost transforming within you, and with your out breath you are moving it out. And so you're taking up in the space and you're finding all the areas of distraction in your life, and you're laying those out, and you can even let that extend out and focus on those around you. And I found that very helpful earlier this year. I had a friend in hospice, and that was a form of meditation I used a lot because there was a lot of tension around that and a lot of grief and a lot of sadness. And so to take that in and to hold that within me and then let it go and kind of imagine it transformed. That's been the meditation practice that has been helpful to me recently, because there are a million different ways to meditate. And so I found that all these different ones kind of come at the right time. And, you just kind of need to test them out and see which ones are meant for you in the moment, or not meant for you, but are useful to you in the moment. And that's kind of what I have to talk about with your videos, Alicia. Can't wait to watch more. Oh, also your peasant bread video. I like that a lot. Like I said in the comments, I'm not good at baking bread, but I might try your recipe. Probably not for a video, just in real life. You guys know I love baking and cooking and stuff, but for some reason bread is just really difficult for me. I don't know, it's never gone well. I'm going to give your recipe a shot. Anyway, on to Graham. All right, Graham, let's talk about your videos. And I'll just start off by talking about your tour videos, because those are videos that, I started watching before VEDS as you headed out on your coast to coast to coast tour, and they've continued on, and we've been able to finally see the conclusion of that. And man, it's just so cool. I really admire your commitment to making this your career, being able to do this. It's just so cool that you get to be able to do that. And man, you crossed a whole country. Like that's huge. Like going from one coast to the other, like it's insane that you were able to do that and to make that work. Man, I was geeking out the entire time watching those videos. I love that you were able to do those in your style, right? Like you were able to stop at the midpoint of Canada. The was it the longitudinal or the longitudinal, whichever midpoint it was, that you were able to stop there and you were able to talk about the trains that that Newfoundland bought from the U.S. military, and you were able to like fit in so many of your cool stuff. You're able to ride ferries that you hadn't been able to ride before and all this stuff. I will eventually get to Canada. I will eventually travel there, but I will never be able to travel as much as you do there. There are sites there that I will never see. I will never, probably never, drive across from one coast to the other. But man, because of your videos, not only do I get to hear your excellent songs and see how you go about that process, but also I get it's kind of like a little portal. I get to travel a little bit with you and see parts of the world that I wouldn't normally. And for that, I thank you. That's been such an awesome part of watching your videos. You also got to show off your Billy Joel vinyl collection. Mine is just Glass Houses and The Stranger. I haven't gotten anything else. I actually really haven't gone vinyl shopping that much since COVID. I don't know why that is. Occasionally I'll get out and I'll buy some stuff, but I don't go out as much anymore. So there are several people. My Leo Kottke collection is incomplete. My Three Dog Night collection is incomplete. And amongst that also my Billy Joel collection. So that's motivation to go out to one of the record stores here. If I can get 52nd Street next, that might be the one I go for. And I'm curious what you think of his compilations and live albums, because I really like a lot of his live albums and stuff. And of course I grew up, my first exposure to him was listening to him on the radio and then getting his greatest hits. I think that was me with a lot of bands. You hear him on the radio, then you're like, well, where can I hear all these songs? They're spread across all these albums, or I can just go to this one that has all of them. And then from there, you're like, oh, wait, I actually want to then discover some of his other work. And that's kind of was my progression with Billy Joel. This is a Billy Joel sheet music, actually. I go to extremes. In your response video that you made recently, which, side note, you keep apologizing for your videos to be long, but I will just say selfishly, I like when your videos are long. I tend to watch those at work. The longer the video is, the longer I will be entertained while at my desk. So I do not mind at all if your videos are long, although I understand that, like, I'm not the only one watching them, so I understand why you say that. But anyway, in that video, you talked about kind of the connection between D&D and then sports and kind of the fictions you made. And that made me think about how when I was a kid, I would play basketball in the backyard. And sometimes I'd play with my siblings and we'd play horse or whatever. But then sometimes it was just me. And when I did that, I created teams and I created a whole league and I changed some of the rules so it could make sense. But I pretended to be all these different players on this team. I forget what the teams were. But I do remember I had Canadian teams because I always thought that was cool. About the NHL. I know like the MLB and the NBA also have like one Canadian team each, but like I was like, all North American. I think I had a team from Mexico too, because that's something I always wanted to see other professional leagues adopt. And so I had this like whole bracket and all this stuff, and like I remember playing out the tournaments and that kind of stuff. And it's just this weird thing about me where it's like I couldn't just be content going out and shooting hoops, even though I enjoyed that. I had to create some kind of fiction around it. I had to create a story about it. I had to narrativize. That's always been the thing that's drawn me most to sports is the narrative. Who are the characters? What is the underdog story here? Or who are the exciting newcomers to follow? Or what's the arc gonna be like? I also wanted to talk about the video that you put out this year that's probably made me think the most, and that's your I Am Successful video. Like, it's an important place as an artist to step back and to evaluate where you are. And to consider your goals, whether you're reaching those goals, whether those goals still apply to you, and to think about that. And I think that drive is very important, and that process is very important. So I'm glad you let us look into that. And even if you didn't come to some like grand revelation in that video, that's fine. That's part of the right? Like the point of the evaluation is you begin that process of thinking. Maybe you don't come to a definitive answer, but you still find some other valuable insights into that. So that kind of made me think about my own where I am as a creative person and how that relates. I really admire how you've made that your career, and I think part of that is because I kind of gave up on that. You know, I went to school to make movies, and then I graduated, and I started doing freelance video, and didn't enjoy it. And part of that's because COVID hit, and like a lot of my opportunities to do that kind of went away. But even then, I just didn't enjoy it. And so while I was kind of evaluating while you did that, I was thinking about it. I was like, well, I gave up on doing freelance video for the most part. I still might do it here or there, depending on the opportunity. But for the most part, I now have a desk job. I'm in the corporate world, somewhere I never thought I would be. And if you had told me in high school or even college that would be my job as I enter into my late 20s and into my 30s, I probably would have been very disappointed and depressed. But, you know, now I think about it, it's like, well, but now when I am creative, I'm doing it, it's detached now from whether I can pay rent or bills or anything like that. And it's now a passionate thing. I wasn't telling stories when I was doing freelance video. If I was, it was other people's stories. And that's why I wanted to make movies. I wanted to be a storyteller. It's not something that I do to my 9 to 5, but I have the ability and the passion now to do it, you know, from my 5 to 9. So am I successful? Well, I mean, I'm not going to have a book or a movie released before I'm 30, probably. I have a few writing projects that I'm working on now. I have 4 that I'm going to try to tackle in NaNoWriMo. And I like that process. I'm trying new things. One of those is a comic book. One of those is an audio drama. Those are things I never would have tackled, and I probably wouldn't have the ability or the drive to tackle if I had kept doing videography. Those aren't going to be commercial successes. So am I successful? In a way, yes. In a way, no. You know, it reminds me a lot of what Natalie Dawn talked about in one of her videos a while back, where she talked about this idea of selling out and how, like, the way she and Jack Conte of Pomplamoose kind of think about it is like, well, if you do something that then enables you to keep doing your art, you're not selling out. And so it's like, am I selling out by going to a corporate job and, you know, sitting behind a desk for most of my day? Well, it's like, no. I mean, I don't want to be there forever. That's not my goal, to be there forever. But it's also not selling out, because like that lets me do other things, and I wouldn't be able to have the passion or the drive to do those stuff if you know, creation was my career. Maybe one of these days I will be able to find a place kind of like you have where I am able to kind of blend those two things. But that wasn't really where I was at for a while, and I was kind of trying to force myself into that. And now I think I found a place where it's like, am I successful? Maybe. I'm not going to come to any grand revelation in this. But, you know, that reevaluation process has been helpful, and that all started because of your video. So, you know, I'm grateful for that, and I appreciated that video, and I think that might be my favorite of all the videos you've put out this year. I'm sorry, because I know other videos you've put out, you've put a lot more work into, but, you know, that is the way of VEDS, isn't it? And finally, I want to talk about your water video. Much like when I talked about Abby and their wind video, it's like, yes, the element challenge. I'm so surprised that so many of you have picked up on it. I was like, maybe one person will, but no, you made this video, and I loved it because it was so out of the box for you. I loved the decision to make it silent, because that made me focus so much more on the visuals and on the relationship between water and like people and land, which was something that I kind of picked up on in a lot of your shots. You know, you had the shots of the coast, obviously, but then also of the bridge and of the ferry, and it's kind of these liminal spaces between like society and people and water, which is like this essential part of our survival, but also something we can't live in. And so it's like these areas where we kind of come into relationship with water and all this stuff. And it's like really interesting. I don't think I would have got there if you had chosen to put sound in. And it was just a really cool experience. And also just kind of like serendipitously, I was watching it on my porch. I watched it twice, and the second time I watched it, it started to rain. So even though it was silent, it was still soundtracked by water. And this is actually, here's the footage of that. It was really cool. I'm really digging what y'all are all doing with these element videos, and Graham, you're no exception to that. I really enjoyed seeing that and kind of seeing you go out of what you usually do when you present your videos to us. Really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed all your videos. Can't wait to see what else you have for us in the rest of the month, as the same goes for the rest of the VEDSies. I will talk about the rest of the VEDSies in my next video, which will hopefully be soon, but it will come. And until then, I will see you later.